The decision of whether or not to run ads on your podcast isn't an easy one, nor should it be. Smart podcasters understand the risks and rewards, and they give their most loyal listeners an escape route. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, evoterra. How many ads or sponsor messages are too many ads or sponsor messages in a podcast episode? Any might be your answer. I know a lot of podcast listeners bristle at being forced to listen to any podcast ads, as is their right as a consumer. Or maybe you don't find a problem with the ad-to-content ratio in the podcasts that you listen to. We know that, for example, compared to other forms of media, podcasting has one of the best ratios, meaning more content delivered with less annoying ads. Now, as you've heard, I made the decision to make this season of Podcast Pontification sponsor-supported. You just sat through, or perhaps you skipped through, a sponsor message for this month's sponsor. And in a few more minutes, you'll hear, or again, skip through, another sponsor break. Now, if you read the article on my website or on Medium, you see that sponsor message front and center. If you subscribe to the newsletter, it's free to subscribe to the newsletter, by the way, you also see that sponsor message. It's included in every edition of Podcast Pontifications in your inbox that I send out. And you've heard this or read this in a few variations for the last, let me check my notes here, 85 episodes. In fact, there have only been 3 ways to escape these sponsor messages, and I haven't really talked about them too much. And on hindsight, sure, I guess that probably was a mistake. Because look, I know the sponsor messages are a lot. I get it. But those escape routes. If you're a supporting member of mine on buymeacoffee.com/evoterra, that means, by the way, you've set up for a monthly recurring contribution, you'll get both the article and the audio sponsor-free and several hours early. Or perhaps you're paying for a subscription through Apple Podcasts. Did you know that I'm now making a premium subscription on Apple Podcasts? I am, and you can get the sponsor-free premium audio a few hours early over there. Also, you can pay for a subscription to the show on Spotify, which exactly 0 people have done so far, and that'll also give you a sponsor-free premium version, but at the scheduled time it regularly goes out. Confused by all that? Yeah, well, me too, which is why I really haven't talked too much about these options. What's important to me is that serious podcasters like you listen to, or read, or watch, I don't really care, the thoughts that I have about the present and future of podcasting. If I can do that with relevant sponsor messages from sponsors, from companies that matter to you in the audio, then so be it. But I also know that too many sponsor messages, or an imbalance of sponsor messages to content, can turn off listeners. And does. I know it's already happened. At least twice. So, what am I going to do about it? Well, I'll tell you. Right after this. Come on, you had to know that was coming, right? I know of 2 times the sponsor load has been too much for someone because they told me. The first time was via Twitter, hi Patrick, and we had a nice and respectful discussion. The second was via a 2-star review on Apple Podcasts, hi April. No real chance for me to engage in dialogue there, but hey, get your feelings heard wherever you can. I totally get that. No disrespect intended. But I also know that those 2 public complaints were probably just the tip of the iceberg. While only 2 took the time to say, what gives, man? I'm sure there are probably 10 or more, 10 times or more listeners who are also feeling exactly the same way. Maybe you're one of them. Or maybe I've already lost them, and they're never going to return. See, I understand, and I acknowledge that. Just like I understand, and I acknowledge both Patrick's and April's feedback. I appreciate their candor, their honesty. That's great. And you know what? They're right. Look, putting in 3 minutes of sponsorship or calls to action in the audio of a show that's only between 6 to 8 minutes of content is a very heavy ad load. And it was much worse for the month when I was sticking in the boostagram corner, which that was adding another couple of minutes. So yes, that's a lot. Too much, in fact. Or is it? I mean, think about this. 20 to 30% of audio dedicated to a sponsor or a CTA messaging sounds like a lot, but that's on par with TV and radio. Now, I recognize the fact that many of us have stopped watching commercial TVs because of that, and stopped listening to commercial radio because of that. But also, unlike TV and radio, the regular broadcast TV and radio, podcasting has a very handy fast-forward button built right into it. And also, unlike broadcast TV and broadcast ad-supported radio, there are premium options to let you skip all sponsor messages and any CTAs that are unrelated to the episode itself. The reality is something that long-term listeners of this show are well aware. I experiment with this show a lot. That's part of me, practicing what I preach and trying out things so that you, the serious podcaster, can hear or read or see those things in real time so you can make the right decisions for your show. So you should expect to continue to hear sponsor messages, perhaps not as many minutes of sponsor messages, I get that, at least for the remainder of this season. And remember, you can always pull the ripcord and pick one of those sponsor-free options, either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or via Buy Me a Coffee. And of course, you will find links to all of those in the episode details, or just, search for the show in your podcast app. You'll find it. Now, this decision of mine is far from final. Like everything that I do on Podcast Pontifications, it's a work in progress. Who knows where things are going to go? But thank you for continuing on this journey with me. With that, I shall be back tomorrow with yet another Podcast Pontifications. Cheers!